It is the FTN Fast Break Podcast, Monday, January 6, 2025, episode 35. What is going on, everybody? Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg, DFS, joined once again by my co-host. It's Adam Pfeiffer. And Adam, I just noticed, I look down, I look at you on the screen. We're matching today, bro.
Oh, yeah,
We're
nice.
repping the old FTN shirts. How's your weekend?
I didn't realize that. Also, was not supposed to be initially on the pod today, so this is even more or less of or more of a coincidence, I should say.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. We hit with some snow.
Okay.
So if you hear plows and all that in the background, that's that. But yeah, other than that, I'm actually insanely excited that the regular season's over because there was a lot of preseason-esque football on yesterday. It was tough to watch, and then potentially the game of the year last night did not live up to the hype. So I'm ready for next weekend. Ready for Sunday. You guys are Saturday?
Saturday night. Yeah. Steelers 9.5-point dogs there in Baltimore. I don't know, man. I think I would take the Steelers and the points.
Given what we know about when these teams play, I would probably do the same.
Yeah. But we'll see, man. Obviously, we're here to talk hoops. I did not watch a single second of the Week 18 action on Sunday until the night game, and then I think I turned it off after a quarter because it wasn't that fun. What was the most fun I had this weekend, I think, Adam, was watching the Denver Nuggets and the San Antonio Spurs play back-to-back games. I know that was my stock down was for the scheduling, but boy, did these two teams not let us down from an entertainment standpoint. So if you didn't listen last week or you weren't aware of this back-to-back set of games here, little home and home. So we were in Denver on Friday night, Spurs and Nuggets, and the Spurs steal the first game of this two-game set on Friday in Denver behind a massive game from Victor Wembanyama. They win 113-110. Wemby, 13 points, 18 boards, 4 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks on 14 of 22 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. He was plus 17 in his 33 minutes. And again, it took every bit of his contributions, of Devin Vassell's 18, 6, and 6. 16 points for Keldon Johnson off the bench, 15 points for Julian Champagnie off the bench. Those two guys combined for 6 of 12 from 3. Again, they needed every bit of that because Jokic on the other side, 41, 18, 9 assists, 2 steals, 15 of 36 from the field though, and 3 of 10 from 3. And the big highlight from this game was the final Nuggets possession, down 1, under 10 seconds. Jokic going on the right block to the little shimmy move, the classic Jokic turnaround. And Wembanyama comes on the help side, disrupts the play, forces a turnover. Devin Vassell goes down, and we can leave the he shouldn't have dunked it and just dribbled out the clock talk aside. Again, it's tough to set aside my Spurs fandom, so I just won't. This final play, Adam, was exactly what I have been dreaming of since before the Spurs won the lottery, is the fact that Victor Wembanyama can alter the play and the decision-making of who I think we all agree is the best player in the world currently in Jokic. He was so nervous about Wembanyama's presence that he turned the ball over in a situation where he just doesn't. More often than not, that is a bucket and a Nuggets win. And it went the other way. And it felt like it's not a changing of the guard. I don't want to suggest that, but it's Wemby is here, and because of his presence,
No, you want to suggest that, but you won't.
I want to, but I won't. You're correct. That's a good correction by you. I think it just goes to prove that the Spurs, maybe not to the level of a Thunder, a Cavs, a Celtics at this point, but I think the 26 other teams, they can compete with any of those teams and beat them on any given night.
And also you feel like we expected the ceiling for the Spurs this year would be okay, maybe they make the play in, maybe they get in, lose first round.
Yeah.
And that might still be the ceiling, but it also feels like everything else is accelerated for this team could make some sort of playoff push, whether it's deep or not, as early as next season. Especially if they get, somebody like a De'Aaron Fox or somebody at the point guard position. I know Chris Paul is obviously there. He's played fine, but he's obviously not the future. And yeah, like Wemby and Jokic, obviously the storylines, they put up stupid stats in those 2 games, but like Jeremy Sohan, every time I watch the Spurs, he's like, obviously he's not going to be the best player most nights, but he's pretty comfortably been their second best player for the majority of the time he's been on the floor. Obviously, he missed a lot of the earliest season. Yeah, man, like, and like, I remember when we were talking about the Christmas Day games, when I was telling you about how me and my brother were watching the game and how many times Wemby altered and made like Josh Hart and Precious Achua and Bridges and Brunson just second guess. And it's like, okay, yeah, to make Jokic second guess is pretty tough to do. And then I think it was, I saw your screenshot you posted on Twitter of like 4 players defending Wemby at the top of the arc. And I'm just like, I get it.
Yeah, dude. I have never seen, at least I don't think, like in the catalog, I've watched a lot of basketball, played a lot of basketball, coached a lot of basketball in my life. I don't think I have seen, outside of like the clock, like the buzzer is about to sound, so we're all going to rush the shooter because he can't do anything else. This was not that. Like almost a horns look at the top of the key with Chris Paul and Keldon Johnson. Both Jokic, who was guarding Wemby, and I think Christian Brown and Jamal Murray, who were guarding the other 2 players, all 3 jump at Wemby's shot fake, and he just boop right over the top. Now we've got not a 4-on-3. Now we've got a 4-on-2, right? Like it's insane what he's doing. He turned 21 actually on Saturday where they played in San Antonio, and it was another fantastic game from a viewership and entertainment standpoint. From my fandom standpoint, unfortunately, Adam, the Nuggets put on their big boy pants in overtime, 14-3 to win that game, 122-111. And it was a 27-16 fourth quarter for the Nuggets that forced the OT in the first place. Jokic flexing, best player in the world still. We're not passing that crown this weekend, Adam. 46 points, 9 boards, 10 assists, 4 stocks, 19 of 35 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. Also, shout out MPJ. Michael Porter Jr. was a game-high plus 21 in this one, matching Peyton Watson's plus 21 in his 34 minutes. Off the bench, Watson had some clutch plays defensively as well. And Wembanyama in this one, man, the Nuggets cannot keep him off the glass. He goes for 41 total rebounds in these 2 games, 20 points, 23 boards, 3 assists, and 5 stocks on 7 of 19 from the field and just 2 of 12 from 3. So Wemby and Jokic kind of trade poor efficiency games from the field. Jokic on Friday, Wemby on Saturday. But this pair of games, especially if you were a neutral, it was some of the best basketball we have seen this season.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the Saturday game, but the Friday one was clearly pretty easily one of the 5 best games of the year. It's just still it's still concerning for Denver though, because it kind of reminds me of like last year for the Bills, to kind of make a football analogy. It's like there's all these games where Josh Allen becomes Superman and they win, but like that's not how they want to win games.
Right.
Jokic, we know, is going to average 25, 10, and 10 in his sleep. Denver does not want him to have to score 45 points to win. Like that's not. Like, Jokic can do it. Clearly, he's doing it this year, but they don't want him to do it. And he's doing it because Jamal Murray's been bad this season and Aaron Gordon's been out. And, like, so it's still overall, like, he's probably going to win the MVP. He should. He's unbelievable. But I still think it's a bad sign that Denver has to get 46 real points from Jokic. Because the debate was always like, okay, how are you going to defend this team? Are you going to say, we'll let Jokic, get his in the post, but we're not going to let the other guys beat us? It's like, okay, that's not really happening now. So Jokic is having to score 40. Like, how many times last year? I don't even have it in front of me, but I would like to know actually how many times Jokic scored over like 35 real points. Because it's as good as he is, it's still kind of weird to see him score 40. Not that he can't, but it's just he's always been in that like, oh, Jokic had 28, 16, and 12, and now he's having to have like 45. 20 and 15, like.
Yeah, I mean, his career high in attempts per game was back in his first MVP season in 2021. That was 18 attempts per game. We saw like mid-30s in both of these games in terms of his attempts from the field, but he's averaging just shy of 22. So you're almost 4 more field goal attempts per game than his career average. this season. And again, after the poor weekend of shooting, still leading the league in 3-point percentage, but we went down from 50% all the way to 47.3 after those 2 games. And I guess the only person who can disrupt Nikola Jokic and his 50% 3-point shooting is 7'5" Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I mean, Mobley couldn't do it, so.
Yeah, well, and so I actually want to do a little flip flop on our rundown here because we're talking about the games of the weekend, and Denver and San Antonio were certainly up there, but so was OKC and Boston on Sunday afternoon. And the Thunder take care of business, 105-92 at home, and their defense was the headline. They hold Boston to just 12 fourth quarter points, which, Adam, like, the Celtics are the most storied franchise in NBA history. This was their 3rd lowest scoring fourth quarter as a team in club history. Just 9 of 46 from 3. Obviously, the Celtics' 3-point attempts has been a big story this year, and we know that's how they can just absolutely make things look silly out there when they get hot. It was the opposite of that here in Oklahoma City. And I also thought it was important that the Thunder were able to essentially match Boston on the boards. Alex Blicklow and I have made a big point to highlight the struggles on the glass that the Thunder have had this year. They are the 2nd worst team in terms of opponents rebounding this year. The only team worse has been the Washington Wizards. So for Boston to be just +2 on the glass on Sunday, I thought that was another big key to the outcome of this game. And of course, I think the biggest one, at least in the box score, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 33, 11, and 6 with 5 stocks, 11 of 23 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. He just continues to cruise through this season. And like, if not for another Jokic historic season, SGA, I think, would be maybe not running away with this award, but like, to me, Tatum might be 3. So like the head-to-head yesterday certainly point.
Well, even
Alexander.
Even without that, like, I don't think Tatum and SGA are even in the same stratosphere for MVP.
Sure, yeah, sure.
Like, especially when you consider what SGA's done in the absence of Chet. Like, he's scored, I think, like, a week and a half ago, I mentioned, like, I think I looked up, he had 30-plus points and, like, 15 straight at one point.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, if Jokic wasn't doing what he's doing, it would be SGA and then a teardrop, and then Giannis, Tatum, Jokic obviously would still be up there. Especially again, like, I don't know. Like, obviously, I think Jokic and Embiid, in terms of like their size and skill set, like 2 of the most unstoppable players I've ever seen on offense. But in terms of somebody that's a 6'6" guard, I don't remember seeing somebody quite like there's obviously been players like obviously like Steph is really tough to guard in his own way, LeBron obviously, but like a 6'6" guard that's not like the greatest shooter of all time and plays more in the mid-range, like I don't know if I've seen somebody this unguardable, obviously not counting like MJ and those guys, but like
right,
he's so shifty, he is strong, he knows how to get to a spot. I don't know, he's just unstoppable right now. And yeah, then you add the fact that like those Boston games when they, you're going to live and die by the 3. When you have those games where Boston can't hit a shot, probably going to lose those games, especially against these teams. But it's been the talking point all year with the Thunder's defense. I mean, it's as good as it gets. Jalen Williams only had like 10 real points in this game. He's a +19.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, it's also points to J-Dub doing the little things, whether it's like going to help out on the glass, boxing guys out on both.
That's why it's like, one of the reasons I made, like, his raw numbers are still good. It's like 26 and 6 or something.
Right.
It's one of the reasons I have it as an all-star. Like, he's that I don't like SJ's one of the 3 best players on the planet, but I also don't know where they would be without J-Dub. So yeah, we'll talk about it, but Wednesday, I'm ready.
Yeah, well, and I think it's notable, though, from that discussion that, like, you're bringing this up, and I'm sitting here shaking my head when you're like, of course, like, not comparing him to MJ or anything, but, like, so we're talking already with SGA, like, potential ceiling of tier below those, like, top 10 all-time guys. If he keeps this up, he's
like, I'm trying, like, obviously, like, I wasn't really old enough to fully watch Michael Jordan, so I'm trying to find, like, the comparison of, like obviously Kobe, T-Mac, like, the way that SGA is just getting to a spot, it's just like you can't do anything about it right now. It's just almost like practice for him.
Yeah, I mean, and this is age 26 season, so like this could be year like 1 of 5 or 6 of SGA's like career prime here.
And I like
And
watching him too. It's a nice change of pace. Like
yeah,
you have your DeMar DeRozans and your Kawhis when he's healthy that like to get to that mid range spot. But it's
yeah,
nice to watch. Like obviously he can, like that movie put on Josh Hart
yeah,
was just insane.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, he's insane. He's unbelievable. I think again, I know you put Wemby at 2. I'm fine with that, but I think
yeah.
SGA has pretty comfortably made a case that if you want to put him as the second best player in the world right now, I don't think it's outlandish.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna be blue in the face yelling
Like
about,
it's
oh, you
Jokic, and then
can't.
it's like Giannis, Wemby, SGA. I think that's the clear next group.
Yeah,
And Luca when he's healthy, obviously too. But
right.
yeah,
And Tatum is in the mix, but I don't think we put Tatum over SGA or
no,
Wemby or maybe even Giannis.
no,
So and like
and that's
credit to
not
SGA,
an insult. Like these are unbelievable
not at
basketball
all.
players.
Yeah, not at all. And like it's still just like SGA has improved his efficiency from three, almost doubling his attempts year over year. 2 years ago, he was 34% from three, 2.5 attempts per game. He's 36 now, 6 attempts per game. So again, we'll talk about that matchup that is coming up here on Wednesday. But real quick, let's jump back into, because right now it's hard to record an episode of the Fast Break without talking about Jimmy Butler. Since we last convened on Thursday, Jimmy Butler has been suspended for 7 games by the Heat for multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team. Now, of course, the Players Association is going to file an appeal on his behalf, but
As they should.
sure, this is just the next chapter of Jimmy Butler going, I mean, absolutely bananas and forcing his way out of somewhere. Like, you think, right? Like he forced his way out of Chicago. He famously forced his way out of Minnesota with the infamous, scrimmage and that, and then in Philadelphia, of course, right? Tobias
The
Harris over me.
the Philly one was the one where it's just like there was a lot of moving parts there because like he didn't love Brett Brown, and
Right,
then because that's always the famous thing. It's like, oh, they chose Tobias Harris over. Like
right,
they didn't, but they
right,
couldn't afford losing both of them. Like they
right.
could have lost both of them. So
Yeah,
obviously it looks bad, but they didn't straight up say, you know what, we can only sign one player. We're taking to. That's not how it
right.
worked. But yes, but yeah, but I think the Philly one is the one where it's like a lot was going on. The
Yeah.
other two were, especially Minnesota, where it's like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah. So, I think this pretty much seals the deal, right? That he is going to be gone before February's trade deadline.
Pat Riley
So
changed his
like,
mind.
I mean, so like at least we have a timetable, or at least one we think is going to play out. I honestly don't think I have any new. I haven't been in the trade machine cooking up, oddball Jimmy Butler trades. And I still think it's a pretty limited number of teams. Now, I want to bring up Phoenix again. This is the one team I do want to talk about before we look ahead to games in the early part of this week. Tonight, the Suns are playing the Sixers. And the word is that they are going to make not one, but 2 changes to their starting lineup. The first being Bradley Beal to the bench in favor of rookie Ryan Dunn. And then they're going to swap their centers and bring Yusuf Nurkic off the bench with Mason Plumlee in the first 5. Now, this is a little bit sinister, I think, for lack of a better term, but are the Suns trying to make Bradley Beal unhappy so he waives his no trade clause and they can bring Jimmy Butler in? I think there are crazier theories that I have spouted on this
Suns are
podcast,
also, I
Adam.
think, what 6-3 and
Oh, they're
7 in the
they're
last 10. So it's also it could just be straight up just like trying to mix things up. The Suns is
yeah,
interesting though because remember when we first talked about it, we were like they have nothing to they can't add anything to a deal. What could they do?
right,
Tom Haberstroh wrote an article I think this morning, and
uh-huh,
his prediction was Jimmy Butler will land in Phoenix in a 3-team deal. It involved the Pistons, I believe, as the
interesting.
third team. I haven't read the article yet, but Tom Haberstroh posted on Twitter. I saw it on Twitter before we hopped on. And I was like, that's pretty interesting because I think that's the only way the Suns can maybe get something done. And obviously Beal would have to be involved. But that would be pretty interesting because it would probably be a better fit for him than Beal, obviously. But
Yeah. Well, and like I guess so my thing is here, and I don't think this is likely, but my thing is I don't see Jimmy Butler for Bradley Beal and whatever other ancillary pieces have to be involved. That doesn't make the Heat or the Suns, rather, certainly not the Heat. It doesn't make the Suns finals contenders in my eyes, just swapping those two guys. Um, I think the better, and again, I don't think Matt Ishbia and the new ownership group there is going to do this, but I think the right thing for the health of this franchise is to just blow it up completely. And like, maybe you keep Bradley Beal because you can't get him anywhere else on that contract, but like, you're going to get the best return and be able to press the reset button by trading Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And I think that, well, look, man, like, I know it's like at first that's a scoff, and maybe that is the answer. But what could you get for Devin Booker to a team like San Antonio, to a team like Oklahoma City? Both of those franchises can pay essentially whatever they want, like as much as they want to give up. Those are the two teams with the most draft capital in the next 6 years. Those are the two teams that would be vastly improved. In like Oklahoma City, you could almost lock up the title if you put Devin Booker on that team, depending what they're getting rid of. And again, if it's a Spurs package, like that is a player.
Memphis has some assets too.
Right? So like
I could see Durant on Memphis.
You could get a giant trade package in return for Devin Booker. And I think a pretty sizable one, I would imagine. Multiple firsts still for Kevin Durant, maybe even a young player along with it. So, like, do I think that's likely? No. But do I think it's something that the Suns front office, if they have responsible personalities and personnel there, are at least discussing and maybe not reaching out to other teams, but considering in-house, like, we're going to have our hour-long meeting today about potentially blowing it up. Maybe it should be longer than an hour. But, like, I think they should be having those conversations because this is probably, right, you could still get peak value for Devin Booker. You could probably get more than any team has ever gotten for a 36-year-old player who has a history of lower body injuries, including a torn Achilles. You could get a record haul for a player with that profile in Kevin Durant. So maybe they go the other way. I don't know. It was something I was tossing around in my head this morning.
It's interesting.
Adam doesn't buy it, everybody.
I just don't think, I don't know, maybe I'm more of a pessimist. I just don't think outside of Butler, the trade deadline is to that level. But obviously, like the Suns have to make certain, they have to kind of make certain moves to be able to get this done in the first place. So I think it's really fascinating now because a month ago, there was these rumors. I was like, I don't think it's going to really happen with Butler. Now it feels like it's all but guaranteed. And it really comes down to who has the best fit, who has the best, package to deliver for Miami. And then Miami, it's just weird too because like I've talked glowingly about Tyler Hero and Bam this season, but like you can't do anything if they're your two best players. You're not competing. And the best player you could possibly get in a deal, I mean, even if you look at the other potential teams that he could go to, like does Dallas do it now with Luke out for a while? I don't know. Obviously, we mentioned Phoenix. I think Memphis could still be in that discussion. But really, it just comes down to like Jimmy Butler is like, and maybe I should have seen this coming because I've been watching a lot of these Miami games, like I mentioned, and like he's just, it was hard to kind of differentiate between Jimmy not trying in the regular season as often like he always does, but I'm watching these games. It's like he's just standing in the like Haywood Highsmith's getting more usage than this guy for half the games, and his usage rate, like I mentioned, is like the lowest it's been in like 10 years. So maybe I should have been on this earlier, but it's they like it's brutal. What do you think about the suspension? Do you think that was a little much?
I mean, on the surface, yeah, but also I think like if you watch that last game before the suspension, like Spoelstra benched him. And like
was this the game when he did the press conference after?
Yes. And
he said what did he say? Like he won't be able to find his joy in Miami?
Yeah. And I think he said probably not was the answer if he could rediscover that love in Miami. Given the history of Jimmy, and I don't begrudge him for wanting out of this situation at all, but like I also think that it's fair to say we have no clue what he could be saying or doing behind closed doors there in Miami, given what we know he's done publicly in the past, or at least has leaked out from the Minnesota situation, the Philadelphia situation, in Chicago before that. So, like, they probably have decent reason outside of what we already saw, where, like, he's not trying, he's not shooting, right? I think he took like 6 shots in that game through 3 quarters. That's not normal at all. And he got benched by Spo. And like when Spo is out and Riles is out on you, like it's over. And the worst thing possible for this is that he and Riley now have just kind of tanked his trade value, because why would you spend up anything more than you have to bring a guy like this in with the contract that he has in tow? So obviously this is not the last time we will talk about the Jimmy Butler saga here, but it's just the latest update. And I think, Adam, maybe on Thursday we dive back into the trade machine, and not just Jimmy Butler trades, but maybe we try to concoct some other things, like, I don't know, maybe Phoenix blowing it up. We'll see. Some games we're eyeing early this week. Tonight on Monday, Phoenix at Philadelphia. I want to talk about Phoenix a little bit more in stock up, stock down. Clippers and Minnesota. Kawhi Leonard's second game back looked pretty good the other night. Nothing crazy.
Hit his first 3 threes.
Yeah. No, played well in his limited time. Then on Tuesday, we've got the Celtics at the Nuggets. So that is certainly the game on Tuesday that is on my screen. And I won't have to dual screen these because this is the ESPN doubleheader on Wednesday, Adam. Spurs at Bucks is the late game of that doubleheader, but the first one, a game apart in the standings league-wide, a true first-place matchup, Thunder at your Cleveland Cavaliers. How excited are you for this game?
I wish I was at this game. I didn't even tell you this. I got tickets to Cavs Sixers January 24th.
Ooh, let's go, dude.
So I get to watch Mobley for the first time and Mitchell for the first time.
Hell yeah.
But I want to go to Cleveland's arena so bad. But yeah, this is going to be awesome. I mean, 2 of the best defensive teams in the league, 2 of the best offensive teams, just the 2 best teams in the league. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I am really excited to see how the Cavs defend SGA, because normally it'd be Okoro, go do your best, but he's been out obviously. I'm just really fortunate that I get to watch Evan Mobley every single game, because had like 31 and 15 the other day. He's pretty much a lock for the All-Star. There's probably like 4 or 5 All-Stars in this game, which is really exciting. And it's cool too, because like the Cavs have been a small market team outside of LeBron. Like, we know they're a small market team. They just had LeBron, but like these are 2. It's cool that we have the 2 best records in basketball, and they're still relatively small market teams. They're headlining ESPN, 8:00 game. If anybody asks me to do anything Wednesday, I will respectfully decline.
Yep. Be on the couch there. I have to get a abbreviated dog walk in that night during halftime, I think, because that's going to be, as the doubleheader, I think I'm the most excited for this season so far. Maybe outside of like opening night, the semifinal games from the Cup, and Christmas Day. Like this doubleheader here with Thunder and Cavs, and then Spurs and Bucks. Very excited for it. So going to be a good start to our NBA week. Let's close out episode 35 with our stock up and stock down. What's your stock down here on Monday?
Yeah, mine was honestly, it's tough right now because I was looking at Phoenix as my stock down just because of what they've done lately, 3-7. But, maybe the Jimmy Butler over the last 10, maybe the Jimmy Butler thing helps that. And again, like, for me, it's kind of like Phoenix and Sacramento as one, because going into the season, we knew the West was going to be loaded, but we thought these teams would probably be better than teams like the Clippers, the Spurs, Golden State, Houston. And now we're at the point where there's obviously some uncertainty with Phoenix. The Kings, obviously, they're struggling. Now you're at a point where it's like you're 11 and 12th in the West. The only teams you're better than are Portland, Utah, and the Pelicans. The Pelicans, obviously, I don't think we've seen a team more depleted than the Pelicans this season. But like, you're now sitting in a situation where it's like you'll have to fight to make the play-in. Mm-hmm. And going into the season, we did not expect that. Maybe for the Kings, but definitely not the Suns. Like, I was pretty high in the Suns coming to the season. I know Durant's missed some time. They've been really bad without Durant. But, yeah, I just stock down for those 2 teams just because they are not where they thought they'd be, and the West looks potentially even more deep than we thought it was. There's really only 3 teams in the West that are just done, and it's those 3 teams I mentioned, and everybody else has a chance. Like, obviously, the Thunder, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, those teams are going to be, towards the top. It's pretty much an open competition for those remaining, like, 8 to 9 teams.
Yeah, man. The Suns were also my stock down. Like it's obviously the 4-game losing streak, and like you mentioned, the 3-7 in their last 10 stands out. The place in the standings stands out, 12th in the West. But like this also isn't necessarily just like the West is tough and we've been injured thing. 15 and 18 would be the 11 seed out east as well. Like the record is piss poor right now at 15 and 18. They're 2 games behind the Spurs, 2 games behind the Warriors. Dude, they're only 2.5 games above the Blazers, who are trying to lose. So, like, it is all going wrong here in Phoenix. We are past the time now where we can lean on the Kevin Durant is in and our record is spectacular and Kevin Durant is out and we suck. Like, Kevin Durant has been back now and it is not getting better. We've lost 4 straight. So, like, they need to do something. And again, I don't think swapping Jimmy Butler in for Bradley Beal gets them much higher than where they are now. Could they make it up to the top of those play-in rankings or even sneak into the 6 if they have, immaculate health throughout the rest of the season and they make that trade? Sure. I still don't think we're making them contenders. So that's why I think like might even be talking about the Suns as a further stock down team as we go through this season, because I think like I'm talking myself into this more and more as we go along here, Adam. Like, I think the right move might be blow it up. But we'll see. Stock up here on episode 35. What do you got?
Yeah, I had a couple. I'll do 2 because the first
Okay.
one was what we already talked about. It's just the NBA for that doubleheader on Wednesday. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for that. Not even just the Cavs game. Like the second game is going to be good too.
Mhm.
I'll put Anthony Edwards here. Like the one, what was it? The game before he says he needs to not pass as much or whatever. Then he goes
Yeah,
out and drops
Friday night, I think.
Yeah, then he goes out and drops 53 the very next game,
Yeah.
31 shots. So that was fun to watch. So stock up Anthony Edwards, up career high 53 points. Minnesota looks a little bit better lately. Like Randall, the last game I watched was that Boston game, which went down to the wire. He was awesome in that game. So like Julius Randle, like he's obviously not the one-on-one replacement for Cat, but Julius Randle's good games are still really good. And from watching that game, like defensively, he was really good. So I still think there's some hope there for Minnesota. The problem is like they just have been getting almost goose eggs from DiVincenzo, which has been an absolute crush for them. But stock up Ant-Man and Randall. I would like to see this team. I think this team could go on like maybe not a run to the finals, but like in the second half of the season, they could be one of the hotter teams. They're still well coached. I still like their depth. Just get something from DiVincenzo, and we could be onto something here.
I like to, from the days of being a player and a coach, like watching film, trying to get better, right, was part of the process. Immediately the other night when I think about, yeah, I'm 23 years old. I don't want to be out here passing. Why did we not take the Anthony Edwards points overs in the next game? He's got 40 plus points through 3 quarters. That was a good one. That's a good shout by you. My stock up, very simple here. Houston Rockets. Unfortunate news in shoot around. Jabari Smith fractures his hand, out 1 to 2 months.
He was really getting going too.
Yep. And they just have such a tight, cohesive rotation there. And like, proof is in the pudding. The Lakers are not the best team in the league, but the Rockets go on the road on Sunday night without Jabari Smith. Amin Thompson slides seamlessly back into that starting lineup. Huge double-double for Thompson. They get the road victory. That moves them up into lone second place in the Western Conference. 5th best record in the league. A begrudging, for my Spurs fandom, begrudging stock up for the Rockets. This is a very, very good team. I don't think I can put them in that contender tier yet. But they're a team.
What if they get Jimmy Butler?
They could move. They could make their way up there.
Here's the problem with that though. Like Butler would be a pretty good fit for like it's a really defensive team and everything.
Yeah.
They need some shooting though, if they need anything, I would say. And I don't think
he ain't helping that.
No. But from a kind of like defensive standpoint and everything, like, I mean, who would they trade? Like, obviously they would trade like what, Tari Eason picks.
Yeah,
probably
I think to me,
player.
like Fred VanVleet is with his giant contract, is like a really good trade piece. So we have to see again. Maybe trade machine again on Thursday.
I don't think we have to wait till Thursday. I think you'll be firing it up tonight, probably.
Oh yeah, we gotta. I have 3 days here to mess around with the trade machine. No Monday Night Football to tune into, so we'll have a couple games on the screens tonight. we'll have a window open with the trade machine. We'll hit it on Thursday. Anything else for you, Adam, before we wrap it up?
Nope. I am really excited for this week of basketball. Then we got playoff football. I am, This is the time of year where Sundays are just like me more anxious than I've ever been because it's, win, go home. And I fully expect the Bills to win this Sunday, but they could be playing a high school football team in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I would still be worried. So.
Yep.
But no, both of us. I would like to see you guys win for obvious reasons. I don't want to play Baltimore in the second round.
That means that we would come to Buffalo, right?
Yeah, and after watching our offense the last month, I'm pretty confident in that game.
Yeah. I would be as well. So I will say I'm just excited for this week of basketball. When we come back on Thursday, we'll check in on my excitement levels for Steelers Ravens this weekend. But we appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 35 of the FTN Fast Break podcast. Adam and I will be back on Thursday, recapping everything in the basketball universe between now and then and firing up the trade machine once again. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We'll do the same, and we'll see you back here on Thursday. Until then, he is Adam, and I'm Zach. Goodbye.